All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Up and In Show. I know I was saying I was going to do some daily episodes, and I did. I did it for about a month. I had to put my phone on silent. But, just life happens, and, with the things that were going on with Cars and Culture, at the time, I was struggling, one, just mentally, to get things in line with communication, all that kind of stuff. Didn't want to say the wrong thing, didn't want to be too emotional, but also, I got some of my stuff back, and so I'm in an apartment, and it is everywhere. So I was just kind of putting my life back together and just trying to make, semblance of stuff. So, anyway, today I'm excited because LSU baseball is back in the World Series, back in Omaha. So they're getting ready to play their first game on Saturday. They just completed their super regional championship at the box this past weekend. I guess on Monday. Sunday. And this team's they're firing me up. I think they have a legit chance. They're the second favorite right now to Arkansas going into the World Series, but they play Arkansas first game. So if they beat them, they're going to be the favorite. And it's really a small difference, and it's really two great teams, and really a bunch of other random schools like we didn't really assume we're going to get there. But I'm excited about it because there's like some Cinderella stories like Murray State, who beat Duke last night, and they're a 4 seed, and it just doesn't happen very often, right? The number 1 overall seed lost in their regional. So like just things that are happening that are kind of wild. So I'm excited about this World Series. Should be fun. Only 2 SEC schools. If you would have said that about a month and a half ago, people would have thought you were crazy because the SEC was dominating so much. So I'm excited. But yesterday I put an article out about LSU and some of their first rounders, some of the talent that I see on this team going into Omaha. That's always one of the things that people love to talk about, is the talent, right? Who are we going to see on TV at the next level? And so that was always one of my favorite things when I played was, having those experiences and seeing who was going to be the guy that was a first rounder. Who are you chasing? Who do you want to be like, and as you make your name here. And obviously the goal is always to win championships, and that's what I said, at LSU. That's always the goal, is to win a championship, go to Omaha, win a championship. But you create legacy along the way, right? And like really good players become great players when they win championships, and that just happens here at LSU, right? And with that comes this maturity, comes this experience of pitching in the SEC, playing in the SEC, playing at the highest level, playing in front of 30,000 at Omaha, and I guess I was going to say Rosenblatt, but Charles Schwab Stadium now, and playing at those high stake games, right? And SEC, every Friday and Saturday, you're pretty much seeing a high level arm that's going to be probably pitching at the next level. So you're getting your minor league experience in your first couple years, and the way that the game is trending now with NIL and guys being able to come to school and earn some money, the game is just becoming better, and they're understanding that they can come to school, make some money, and then be able to move on and get to the major leagues quicker, because the average age for the major leagues is just getting younger and younger, and MLB is understanding what's marketable, what's fun, and so that's a younger generation that's going to go out there and have some fun, pimp some homers, and try to throw 100 every time, right? So that's kind of where the game is right now, and this LSU team has some really, really good talent. And if you guys know anything about the first round, especially the first overall pick, it's all about momentum. And I was talking with one of my boys, Chris McGee, the other day, after at the regional, and after Cade pitched his first game, and there was talks about him being a top 5 pick, and I was like, wow, he's really shot up. Like I kind of thought I was going out on a limb saying he might be a top 15 pick, a top 20 pick, but kind of in that middle of the first round, maybe end of first round, and he was projected in the second round or something like that, third round maybe coming into the year. But highly unproven in the SEC. And then once you do that and you make that jump and you establish yourself as that Friday night guy, right? That puts you in the conversation to be a first rounder. Then when the stuff really starts getting analyzed and scouts start coming to the game, and then when the stuff ticks up in the SEC tournament, the regional, the super regional, right? Scouts are really impressed because now you're performing at the highest level when the stakes matter most. And that's really what scouts really love to see, right? If you're going to draft a guy and you're going to put him in the big leagues within a year, you want him to be able to go out there and compete. You want a guy that's going to rise to the occasion in the higher stressful situations, right? So that's kind of what Cade's doing, and he's got a ton of momentum right now. So I'm going to take the next couple minutes to kind of break down what I see in him, what I've seen in him. I talked in my article yesterday about him being the comp that I immediately think of is Cole Hamels. I constantly see it. Cade is a little lower in his arm slot, just a little bit. Cole was truly over the top, but their pitch mix to me is and the way that they pitch is so similar, right? Cade does pitch off his fastball, even when it was, and I'm saying 92 to 94, like that's not good, but that was kind of like what his fastball was for the beginning part of the year. And in these last 3 to 5 starts, he's more 93 to 95 and touching sixes pretty consistently. So you see that tick up in the velocity, and whether that's coming from confidence or just understanding his body more and getting later into the season where his body's being more mobile and loose and things like that, right? Whatever it is, you're seeing a tick up at the right time, and he's getting all that momentum. And there was an article talking about him being the first overall pick. So I want to break down what I see. I want to compare it to Cole Hamels, who obviously, I think he won a Cy Young, but World Series champion multiple times. I think he was the World Series MVP. And some of these highlights I was just watching, they were talking about it. And you look at him, he was up in the big leagues at 22. That's kind of Cade's age, right? Cade's probably 21 if he's getting drafted this year as a sophomore. So he'll probably be in the big leagues at 22. So I like this comparison because Cole had a fastball that was like 92 to 95-ish, right? But he would sit like 91, 92 on his good days, but he pitched off his changeup, where his changeup was his primary off-speed pitch. And at one point, he really had the best changeup in baseball, I think. And that deception allowed his 91 to 93 look like 93 to 96, right? And he's getting swings and misses at the top of the zone, and that's really what Cade does. Cade throws that changeup to righties, and it looks just like his heater out of his hand, right? So at 83, guys are swinging and they're off their front foot. And then what it does is it allows him to throw elevated fastballs because they think it's a changeup, and at last second they're swinging, right? And I've had this conversation because that's the way I pitched with my curveball. It was fastball, curveball, and the way my fastball had what we used to call life, right? But it was a lot of vertical break. And so what I would do is I was very successful at the top of the zone, even though they were trying to teach me to pitch down in the zone. Obviously today it would be a lot different, but I was able to get swings and misses at the top of the zone because of that vertical break, and then because my curveball kind of had similar look out of the hand, right? And if it was coming out the same plane and then dropping, I got silly swings and misses on my curveball, but then silly swings and misses even more on my fastball because it looked just like the curveball, right? And then Cade does that same thing with his changeup. He has a really good sweeper, breaking ball, curveball that he's had last year, right? Gets swings and misses on it. At the next level, it's kind of big, so I was a little hesitant to say, it's a true out pitch, but he throws it hard enough where it could be, right? And he throws it really well to lefties. But then when he came in this year and he's throwing a new breaking ball that's like, mid to upper 80s, and in this highlight that I'm going to show you, he throws one at 88, and it looks like a little backdoor. It doesn't look as sharp as some of the other ones, but it's the pitch that he can throw into righties, to me, that gets in on their hands, and it doesn't allow them to open up and swing truly aggressively off of him, right? And that little bit of honesty keeps those guys with their hands in and not really trying to extend and hit those pitches outside, which really opens up for his changeup, right? And in one of the sequences in this highlight, you'll see that he actually goes something hard in, whether it's a curveball or cutter, I can't remember. But then he goes changeup away for the punchy. And it's because the guy had to respect the honesty in with his hands that he was then fishing for the changeup outside when he thought it might have been a heater, and he was off his front foot, and then he just makes a terrible swing at it when he realizes the changeup and he has no shot, right? So to me, that's what I see when I look at Kade Anderson. And then I look at Cole Hamels and the way his career went. And Cole was a 15-year, I think, guy. And, when I tell you he was a workhorse, he would pitch 6 innings every single time, getting deep into the games. In his highlight that I have here, like they were showing his first complete game, he had 15 strikeouts. So Cade gets a lot of swings and misses, a lot of strikeouts. And that's the sweeper. That's the bigger breaking ball, right? And when he throws it at 83, 84, it's more of an out pitch. And you'll see a slower one at like 80 in here. That one's still 84. Look at that break. That's a really good break. And that's why he can get those fastballs up there. That one's probably a little up, but Jace thinks that's up. Right there, that's 80. That's a little slower, so you're right. But I think look, that's the harder one. What is that, 88? At first I thought it was a changeup, but then you see his changeup is 83, 84. And so that 88 is his little cutter thing. That's the changeup right there. And then when you're dotting 96, look at that. That ball might be down, but look at this stuff right here. That's the cutter right there, I think, at like 91. And then he goes changeup. And if it wasn't the cutter, it was still a heater that was in and well located, right? And it opens up that outside plate. And then look at that swing on 3-2 on a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. He gets those silly swings and misses because they have to respect all the different pitches going 4 different directions, right? And so I want to show the comparison of Cole Hamels here really quick. And this is young Cole Hamels, so you'll see Cole's a little bit more over the top, Cade's a little lower, but as far as their stuff and the way that they pitch and the swings that they get and the way that the hitters are off balance, right, they're so similar to me. Look at that. That changeup is just disgusting. This is him as a rookie. It's his first major league strikeout right there. Ken Griffey Jr. right here. Look at the kid. Look at him looking. I wish they had velo so I knew kind of exactly how to comp it. And he gets another one here, but you see that? Look, little sharp breaking ball. And the way that he's swinging on that is because he doesn't know if that's a fastball staying up in the zone because it's out of the same arm slot. And he doesn't know if it's a changeup going down and in because Cole would throw changeups to lefties. So this is him. Here he is throwing a complete game. Finishing a complete game right here. Look at this. Bang. That's the changeup right there. You know you throw a good changeup when it's cutting into righties and guys are swinging over it and it looks like a slider. He just accidentally cut that because most of the time he had some fade on it. Let's see if there's any other, if we find him later in his career. Oh, we got some velo here. That was 82. Little changeup off the front foot. Look at this. Man, him in the playoffs, that was when, look at that. He just floating in an 81 mile an hour. Look at that. That's a changeup on a front door changeup to a righty on a changeup. That is disgusting. I don't even know if that's a changeup or a fastball anymore. Like that's because the way that's I don't even know. But you get the point, right? So, Kade Anderson. I think he has a chance to be number 1 overall because of the momentum that he has. I don't know necessarily when I look at him if I thought he's the number 1 overall pick, but if you value a guy that's a number 2 starter in the big leagues, when you see that and you think he could get up to a number 1 starter, right? And he's durable and you know what you're going to get from him for the next 6 years. Why wouldn't you draft that guy at that position? And especially the Nationals, like I said, in the position that they're in, they have all their primary positions covered. They have their catcher, their shortstop, their center fielders. They have their outfield completely covered. Their second baseman, they have all of their primary positions covered for the next 5 years. They have 2 really good starters. They have Mackenzie Gore that they got in the trade, right? Mitchell Parker's really nice. Irvin is good too. So I think they have really 3 good starters. If Cade can get in there and get a number 4 starter and then they can develop another guy or 2 or make a free agent signing, make a trade somewhere, that team is looking good in the next couple of years. So I like that for the Nationals. Obviously, I'm partial to it because it would be dope to see DC and him play together. But yeah, and obviously anytime LSU gets the number 1 overall pick, that's awesome for the university and our brand, as a school. So Cade seems like a great kid. I've met him once or twice, shook his hand and talked to him a little bit on social media, but seems like a really nice kid. And I hope he goes top 5 where he belongs. And if he goes number 1, that's amazing. I really hope, and he deserves it. He can get up there, and the momentum that he has, I don't see why not, right? And then we talked about Jared Jones. He's one of my favorite guys to talk about because of the progression that he's made this year. I don't really have anything to break down for him. I'm sorry, guys. I wish I had some better software, and I might figure that out eventually. But Jared, to me, has made the jump that he needed to make this year to be considered into the first round. I'm not saying he's a first rounder, but I would not at all be surprised if somebody was like, yeah, he got popped at 23 or something by the A's or somebody that's like, he's going to get up to the big leagues very quick and he's going to be their 6-hole hitter, right? And they're just going to hope that he hits 30 to 40 a year. And even if he hits 200, like that's fine early on and does the Schwarber thing, right? But I think if he can be a 230 to 260 hitter in the big leagues, he runs into 30, 35 homers a year. So, but I think Jared's the best when he's seeing the ball late in the zone. And I talked about that a little bit in my article. And what that means is just him seeing through it, not necessarily pulling off and trying to hit everything to left field. Jared's the best when he accidentally hits home runs to right field, and that's how you know a guy has crazy pop and crazy power, is when he's staying through the ball and he's not necessarily trying to pull off of it and try to hit homers and just drive the ball up the middle. He hits accidental homers to right field all the time. So to me, that ability right there and the ability to keep his bat in the zone, recognize pitches is going to come over time, right? And it's just really going to be a matter of his discipline, I think. He's got all the raw tools, and I think when he gets to the combine and if he does anything in the College World Series where there's a lot of film and talk, and if they go to the championship series and if he does something really well, that's something different that these guys have an advantage of that I didn't have, and when I was playing, guys didn't have, is they were already drafted by the time they got to the World Series. It was usually during the regionals or super regionals. So these guys have the biggest stage to go perform on and make a little name for themselves. So I think if Jared runs into some balls, because it's hard to hit homers there, so it could be pretty loud if he does something special, and if he carries that into the pre-draft workouts and things like that, I could see him being at the end of the first round, but I think he's probably a second rounder if I had to guess right now. But again, I don't know. I'm not an evaluator. And I think there's teams that value the power, the launch angle, the exit velo, all the things that he brings. And I think he has a really nice swing. It's just about pitch recognition for me. And then we got Anthony Eyanson. I'm going to leave the younger guys. Go read the article. Like, they got some years. We talked about Curiel. We talked about Schmidt. We talked about Kason Evans. Talked about Rizzi. Talked about Shores. Shores might go this year too, especially if he's throwing 100 and 101 the way he was the other day. I guarantee you somebody's going to throw a bag at him. But Eyanson is somebody that's a wild card for me. I wouldn't be surprised. Again, I'm a pitcher, so I'm also like, dude, I've seen crazier stuff happen. I've seen wild things happen. I also don't have access to the numbers like I do with major leaguers, where you can go to Baseball Savant and see all their analytics and side numbers. And so Anthony Eyanson, for me, the way he competes and the way how electric his stuff is, and the way he gets swings, the ability to get swings and misses, to me, I wouldn't be surprised if he's a second rounder or end of first rounder. I don't know where he projects right now. And again, I don't know necessarily all his metrics, and I don't know if his curveball plays at the major league level, just because it's a little slower. It's a big curveball. So major leaguers, and again, I'm saying this because I struggled with that. I had a great curveball throughout my whole life, but in the major leagues, it didn't play as much because guys saw it out of my hand a lot. And so his ability to be able to develop some other pitches or something else to complement his electric heater is, to me, the ability to either start and be maybe a back end of the rotation guy or a high leverage reliever, right? And I think in the article I comped him to Nathan Eovaldi, because Eovaldi at times was a high leverage reliever who threw 100, but then he settled in as a starter, and he's been a frontline starter, mid-level starter for the last couple of years, and done a really, really nice job at mid-90s, upper 90s at times. And Eyanson kind of has that for me. I love the kid. I love watching him compete. He's one of my favorite guys to watch out there. We obviously share the same first name, so that's dope. But I think for the right team and the right organization, if somebody values him as a reliever, I wouldn't be surprised if he's a first rounder or second rounder. But I don't know. I got to look up the comps and where he stands in that mix. But I think he's done a great job adjusting to the SEC at the highest level, and I truly feel like we have two aces, or LSU has two aces, going into the College World Series. So, yeah, guys, go check out the rest of the article. It was really fun to break those guys down, give my little scouting reports, think I'm a little scout or something. But I've been watching these guys a lot this year, and in this downtime of mine, I've really been having fun just kind of breaking this down and doing different things like this. So appreciate y'all. I hope you guys have a good rest of the week. I'm going to try to check in and do different videos, but I can't promise I'm going to be here every day, but I'm going to continue to try to put out as much content as I can, especially while LSU is playing. So appreciate y'all. Peace, love, happiness. I'll be back soon. Love y'all.